Hey man,
Jake, dude, how you going?
good, good. I just watched the Euro final, so I've been up since early. So
Oh,
it doesn't feel early because I've been up for a while. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
way to start the day. Just get up, get the endorphins rushing, get some high intensity sports going. I
Yeah.
I don't want to know who won.
I
I
won't
don't want
say.
to. Okay, because yeah,
I'm gonna
I'm
watch it.
yeah, I am gonna watch it. But dude, I have not watched a single game this whole tournament.
I'm not gonna talk about the game, but I realized my dad was sitting next to me. He hadn't watched any games, and so for him watching it versus me watching, who's seen a lot of games, I realized that it's setting up the game with all the history that the players have gone through to get to that game. It made a difference.
Yeah,
So it may not be the greatest game for you watching as one game as I look through his eyes, even though it was a good game. I'm just saying, I was
yeah.
like, wow, that dude done this and this to get there. So that really upped the stakes, I realized, for me.
For sure. I find with like football, it's one of those things like obviously, man, coming from Australia, we're heavily either like rugby league or AFL here.
Yeah.
So soccer was never the
Yeah.
manly sport that Aussies played.
I know. Yeah, totally.
But there's
And,
so much history and culture and richness in it. And it's like once you do sort of get into it, it's so easy to fall in love with the stories of these countries that live and breathe this sport because it's pretty much all they have, some of them.
yeah, it's a poor man's, like any man's game, poor man's game. It's you play with anything you got. That's what's so awesome about
Yeah.
it and how it brings, yeah, or any sport, but it is the sport that often brings a nation together, and one that can be so divided on so many topics, and they come together for that.
Oh, tell
So
me about it. Hey, dude, this is a special one for us because you were actually a part of our very first foray into this side of the music world. Like we were just all, reactions and a couple of these online interviews, and um, Ash and the lovely team at Destroy All Lions decided to take a chance on us and take us to Full Tilt Festival, and you were one
yeah,
of the very first in-person interviews we ever did. So this is
yeah,
rad. It's kind of come full circle.
good man. Yeah, that did we do that? Was up in the apartment,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the other guy was there, and there was someone else in the room film. Oh, there was a couple of other people from memory.
Yeah. So Nath was there, like
Yeah,
he's on his honeymoon in Italy. Go figure, lucky bastard. And then at the time we had McGee, who was our videographer
yeah,
and
that,
editor, but we
yeah,
kind of just keep it all in house now, and we managed
yeah.
to be getting through it. So
Yeah, and we made jokes, I think, about what we're actually going to do in that room or something. It was like a weird setup.
it was, but it had a sick view, man, because
No,
like
no, it was sick, but it was like a bit
just
of a
a window.
suspect setup with a dude with a camera ready to film. Like, what's going on? What am I walking into?
Well, look, that's never changed, man. You never know what you're walking into on one of our chats. So
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. Hey, and speaking of full circle, you got the new album dropping very, very soon. Super exciting, man. Because speaking of, like I said, full circle, the
Yeah,
track listing on there, the personnel that you've got guesting on there, how rad.
yeah, yeah. It's all very organic. We've always collaborated ever since Divination. We've all it's always been part of the spirit of what we do.
Yeah,
100%. So look, they were already, when I say organic, it was just like if the song or the story warranted it. Like the thing with Winston was just like, well, it had to be that because we were both out there cleaning. Well, we bumped into each other out there cleaning up during the floods, and the song really like it just suited his voice when we
mm,
like were thinking about that story too. It wasn't like we're trying to force it in there. It just was like, so it's just like a no brainer. You write a song about Michigan, you got to get the Michigan bands involved
yeah,
that are part of like making Michigan feel like home to us. You write a song about the Japanese anime, mythological character, the Shishigami. You need someone who's going to go to those crazy places and do it
yeah.
justice. So I feel like yeah, we're like there's always justification, and I don't. The guest doesn't necessarily lead the song. It's the story or what's coming forth that often like will present that situation, for a guest. Let's call it.
It's
Yeah,
it's a really cool concept as well. Like, having that sort of the artistic integrity, I guess, to like you said, warrant that guest not just being a name who's there because they were on the first album, like obviously Winston, Chad, and Garrett, but having them there because they actually do serve a purpose. And I mean, the sad thing is there will be a lot of people that just love it because of the name and because of the feature, like, and because of what they do on the track.
Yeah.
Um, but dig a little deeper, man, and you find all those layers and you find that meaning and you find the reason that you've done these things. And it gives the songs so much more like just life and body as well. I feel like you can connect to it way more.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Yeah, like look, sometimes it can be the hook. The big name can be a hook, and they realize there's more behind it. Um, but look, I mean, just like the movies that look at the big movies that just cast a big actor, even though they might not be right for the role, and you see how that movie does. It's not because the actor's bad. It's often because the
Mm,
script and the director and like the whole vision isn't right potentially for that actor. So I think in saying that, like, yeah, there's some big people in our cast, but like the roles are really like they were they were those born for those roles essentially, and they're there to play those roles because they know what they're doing. And Garrett, like you mentioned, his band Color Morale, like they speak about trauma and like going, depression, and that's been their like brand, and not just brand, but it's what they've moved through as individuals. So again,
yeah.
just makes sense to do that. But it's fun. It's fun too, man. It's fun collaborating. That's what art is. It should be a
Yeah.
collaboration. Yeah.
For sure. And it's fun for the listeners as well. It's fun for the fans. I mean, you see that name and, you see two of your favorite artists coming together, or even in some cases, you see artists coming together that you didn't expect to see. Like, dude, I love you guys and I love Pale Dusk, but I did not expect to see you guys collaborating on the track. And it's like, fuck, this is like a band that I've liked for years with a semi-recent discovery, finding each other and coming together. And it's just such a cool thing. Music's just got so many of those really cool moments that are so important as like artists and fans. And yeah, so well done on that because that was one I did not know I needed, but I'm glad I got.
Awesome. Pleasure.
Hey, so obviously there's been a huge sort of dynamic shift with the band, obviously with Kyle not being a member anymore. I gotta say, this is by far my favorite In Hearts Wake shit ever, hands down. And I think for me personally, that's a really special thing because when you lose such an integral part in a band like a voice, a lot of bands don't really recover from that. But you guys have come out swinging, man. How when you knew Kyle was not going to be a member anymore, what was the thought process going forward? Did you already have a goal in mind and a style in mind, or was it
Uh,
kind of just start from the get-go again? And
no, I think Kyle just it dictated it for us. Well, there was two choices. You find a replacement, which you can't just replace Kyle. Kyle's unique voice is Kyle's Kyle. So it would have just been getting someone different and going on this, massive man woman hunt to try and
mm,
find this person. And that's not something that I felt right at all. It felt like, no, we've been kind of like given given a challenge, which we love challenges. Like I'll be honest, like we love challenges because they force us to be creative.
yeah,
And with that challenge also it was an opportunity. How like going back to basics in terms of like just falling on one less voice, which really comes back to how the band started many years ago
yeah,
before Kyle had joined the band for that first record. Like we were doing demos and EPs as anyway, you get the idea. So I feel like it was an opportunity that we approached with not like, yeah, we got this is going to be easy, because that was not at all the mindset. It wasn't we're going to fail at this, but it was let's just do our best and see and explore. And
yeah,
in that deep dive discovery, I think like it was um, not a revelation, but like a real like lots of scraping away of stuff to find, because it didn't come, none of it came easy, because you've got like you're in this one piece of pie of this heavy area that we had to
yeah.
like really focus in on all these little pieces to try and bring it to life and make it interesting across 11 tracks.
Mm,
Yeah, and I do believe now, having stepped out of that creation process, that we really achieved that reflecting back. And it's probably I think it's my favorite record. Yeah, too, because it's focused and we had such a mission. We felt like the underdogs and we were hungry. and it just asked us, like all of us, yeah, how badly did we want it? How badly did we
Yeah.
want the band to keep going?
And you, like, obviously, dude, you've been doing this for a long time. You're a well-established heavy vocalist. But having that, that one less element that played such a big part in a lot of the songs, how much has that sort of helped you to rediscover yourself as a vocalist and find new tools and new techniques and new sounds and soundscapes to work with?
Yeah, again, I was kind of like felt a bit pushed into a corner, about it. Like it wasn't really it is ultimately any corner's a choice. I got to say,
Yeah.
like wasn't a victim of it, but I definitely felt like, okay, the other person that I hold that vocal baton with is gone. So now I've got to hold it. So I have this torch now that I've got to, and there was a bit of like, not reluctance, but there was like I was just an honest like I don't know if I've got this like because I'm exploring new shit. Like it's uncharted areas. I know I can do what I can do just
Yeah.
based on past albums, but carrying that through 11 tracks was something different. So there's a lot of playing in the sandpit, heaps of playing in the sandpit, and
Great
like that.
analogy.
Yeah, like, it was just total like, well, let me try this voice, and like, oh, that sucks. Let me try this voice, which sucks, but let me pair it with that voice, and then it's like, oh, that sounds good together, and then you hear it in a new way.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so just finding new ways, working with a couple of vocal coaches, just to sort of yeah, try and reignite that fire and that passion for heavy vocals, because like especially with heavy stuff, as you said, been doing it for a while. We don't necessarily always get better, just like football or sports players. You
Mm.
get wiser. Like I feel like you get wiser in your decision making, but like muscles and fatigue or overuse of any player, if you don't do the right things, you can like really burn out or not be as fresh as you were running at 20, you know?
Yeah.
So there was like being really creative around that. And in some ways, I feel like it's the most youthful me ever.
Yeah, right.
Like on record, but like it took a lot of work to get there.
Yeah. Because there is like you guys, you're a heavy band, you're a fast-paced heavy band. You've always had that energy, but there's like, yeah, this like youthful exuberance about it. There's a, especially on some of the tracks, man, like some of the like heavier ones that go into more of that sort of dissonant noisecore realm. There's this sort of new, like, and obviously a heavy band, like you've always had the aggression, but there's a new style of aggression there. There's a new sort of real visceral, like palpable, almost, for use of a better word, gross heaviness to it.
I think it was, I believe it. Actually, no, I don't believe or think. I know it was there already with, if you go back and even check out Worldwide Suicide and
Yeah,
um,
yeah, definitely.
tapping into that chaos. But look, I believe it comes from a place of urgency, like an urgency to be heard, like in whatever way you want to take that, but like just cutting through, wanting to cut through the noise and be the noise to cut through the bullshit. And
Mm,
it also doesn't like, to be completely honest, it doesn't care what anyone else thinks about it because it's just like it's pure expression of that urgency, fury, and coming from a place of just like I'm pointing the arrow, there's my target, and nothing
yeah.
can get in my way. And it's that kind of thing. Doesn't matter if that target isn't seen, but it's just released and felt. And I think Orphan particularly captures that.
Mm,
And Worldwide Suicide captures it, and then it touches into that sort of yeah frantic, furious rage you could call it, without just being anger because it's not just pure anger. It's not hate. It's in Tyrant. It's in a few other songs as well, like that
yeah.
feeling. Yeah.
So that obviously, you've talked about how it, the lineup changes forced you to reignite your love for heavy music and what you do. Surely that's like also found its way into the writing of the actual music because there are a lot of new elements in the actual writing and the playing of the music, which just adds such a cool new level to the band. So has that also forced you guys to rethink your soundscape in a musical sense as well?
Uh, Not rethink. I think the playing field just got opened up, and therefore there was a chance to explore things without being that they weren't pushed in that corner. And I said they because it's Ben and Evan, two guitarists who are really good at production and
Mm,
electronic music and soundtracks and all that sort of stuff. And so all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I've got this awesome sound space, and the melody's not being taken up by a vocal, so I can now dive into what this would sound like. And so you think that's what you're tapping into, is especially in the flood and Generation Doom, and even in there's even moments you don't even know it's there that they explain to me where like you act that for instance they wanted the flood waters to be rising and a feeling of that, and you don't even know, but there's this increasing like sound that's coming up.
Yeah.
You can't even hear it in the mix. Like I've tried to find it and I can't find it. But
Oh,
then I
really?
pull it out and like here it is. I'm like, oh, it's there. I get it now. So a lot of thought in that sort of a thing. But it's getting into like the soundtrack, movie score, justification in terms of why they're doing what they're doing. And I
Yeah.
think that's a new melodic voice in House Wake that's elevated on this record.
For sure. I do want to give massive props as well, man, because it's one of those things where it's like, um, you don't, this is no disrespect to Cole, obviously, but
Oh, not at
I
all.
found it really interesting that I didn't miss his vocals on it. And I think that's a really good sign of you guys finding your niche and finding, basically executing what you wanted to do, like perfectly.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really cool thing because when bands change lineups and, like I said, lose a voice, no matter how good it is, a lot of the time you do be like, I kind of miss it there, but I
Yeah.
didn't find myself missing it at all, which is great.
That's good. But we've always had songs on our records that didn't have Kyle on them, and
Yeah,
sometimes I wasn't on a song and it'd be Kyle's track. So people are, I'd like to think, a little conditioned to knowing what a song already sounds like without Kyle in it, so we could get away with it being less extreme. It's just when you go across a full record, you're expecting a taste bud refresher or a change perhaps,
yeah,
and that obviously wasn't there, but we found it in other ways. So it's rather than being better than, like you say, it's different, and you're getting new sort of tastes and flavors. Probably really helped, I guess, by not only the guests, but also in that soundscape and sort of songwriting production, the guitars bring in those melodies.
yeah, for sure. Hey, I want to talk about obviously with the changes and you finding new voices and that. What was the most difficult track for you on the album? And I want to know performance wise and also lyrically, what were the most difficult tracks for you to either come up with what you were trying to say or to execute?
Yeah, I'm going through the track listing in my head. Um, to execute, well, so yeah, difficult. No, it's just funny, right? The most. I don't know that there was. I don't know there was a fully a difficult one.
Oh,
I
really?
know that the desire to get it right, at least,
Yeah.
was, and this isn't leaning into your difficult thing, but just the most intentional, like, which is an outfit, is the song transmission, is that like we were tapping into a feeling of an event that was happening. That the star of our Traveler film clip, his 11-year-old son had just passed away the week prior with
Oh,
a brain
shit.
tumor, and I'm on the phone to Ika. His name's Ika, and I mean, like, we're in the studio, we're recording, like, the follow-up record to the record that you were part of, and it was like, and he was just like, he was in this place of bliss of the death, just being like my son's just like what he has taught me about living life now, and how he's going to live on in all that I do as an actor. And yeah, anyway, his perspective and his sort of, he was very emotional and in this
Mm,
place of like, it was actually, I can't put a finger or a word to it, but talking to someone who's not just obviously he was very upset and very sad, but he wasn't just in the wallows of it. He was like in this really like amazing space about the whole thing. And transmission, not trying, I feel like, um, transmitting that feeling into transmission and letting it flow without thinking about it too much about what words are what. The song
mm,
kind of came quite easily in its chorus, but it had to find its journey. I think it goes for 5 minutes, and it's this journey that just moves, and we were transmitting that, and that was a challenging in some ways to deliver that. Not difficult,
mm.
just challenging because it was going to a painful, real place. So I think that would be probably, yeah, my answer to that question. Whereas, yeah, the other songs just kind of, they all had their character moments, like they're all very specific characters in themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
sure.
probably the answer I can best think of. Yeah.
And what do you reckon out of all the tracks? What's the one that you're most happy with how it turned out? If you had to, gun to your head, obviously, if you had to
Yeah.
choose which one you're most proud of, which
Yeah.
one that you think conveyed
Yeah.
what you were trying to do the best?
Yeah. Which child is your favorite? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
I won't ask you what one you'd cut from the album then.
I tell you what, the song that I'm most proud, yeah, I'm proud of the whole thing, but the song I'm most proud of, not for me or for the song actually, but for watching Ben and Evan step up and get on that microphone was Hollow Bone. So as a band, I feel
Yeah.
I'm most proud of the band in that moment because it was well, this is where you'd put Kyle. Like this is where it needs melody. I'm not going to do it by myself. Like it's not going to bring what it needs. I can't actually go to that place on my own.
Hmm.
How are we going to do this? This isn't a guest vocalist moment. This is like the reclamation of the band. It has to be the band. And seeing them like one by one step into that vocal booth because I got to see through the window and they didn't know I was watching because they just didn't want to be seen. And just like literal shakes, body shakes. You could hear it on, like in the talkbacks, like I can't do this. Like this is like okay. It was just,
Oh,
it's like
fuck.
5-year-olds at like first day of kindergarten, and it was really beautiful then to like take by take their confidence grew, and then you put them together, and we added our voices together, and then it was like, oh, it's got to be the band. Like it's not
Yeah.
best to do the part. It's got to be the band. So
That
that's the
that
song.
must be cool for them as well to gain that confidence, and it must really sort of get you guys excited for, what comes next and what you guys can do in that space moving forward as well.
Yeah. It's cool. It's kind of it's very crowd like,
Yeah.
chant crowd like, and it's emulating that where it's men at a football match, men at a pub,
Yeah.
being so bogan about it, but it's that sort of trying to get a bit of vulnerability in there though that you can have
Yeah.
those brutal looking dudes that just get in fist fights, but then you see them in tears singing along to something, and you're like, oh, there's actually like there's an innocence and a vulnerability coming through, which is powerful for men to step into that,
Oh,
that
100%. Yeah,
obviously tough
100%.
stuff, so it's cool to try and pull that off.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, and that's such a good point as well. Like, especially in like you said, like men who love their sports and their beer and heavy music and um, yeah, sort of making men feel comfortable to be vulnerable and to show a certain side of emotion is a really tough thing to do, man. And I like commend so many heavy bands for finding a way to speak to men that allows them to actually be proud to feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, I'm the same way with my son, like he's turning 12 years old next month and he's starting to get that teen sort of,
yeah,
angst and bravado about him. And you just want to make sure that he's never too scared to talk about how he feels or never too scared to hug the people he loves or be seen to give his parents a kiss and stuff like that. Because yeah, I feel like you got to start it early because us older dudes coming from a generation of men that you just keep going, you get through it, you don't show people how you feel because it's weak and they'll capitalize on it is something that I'm glad to see slowly becoming outdated.
yeah. There's not many rites of passage for teens. I didn't have one. You know what I mean? Like you think maybe, oh, is it cracking my first, beer at like what age is my dad supposed to give me a beer or something? What is actually like there's nothing to mark
Yeah.
other than your graduation at 18 as if like that's becoming a man or an adult, which totally isn't. But
Mm.
there's nothing. Maybe like, yeah, there's nothing for me anyway. Might have been going out on the hunt with a dad could have been a thing in some cultures. Um,
Yeah,
but
everywhere's different and everyone's different as well. So
that's right. Yeah.
So we're all just sort of trying to find our way and trying to do the best we can as we navigate through all the shit in life. And you know, I feel like you guys have done a really good job as well of bringing a lot of issues and important subjects to the forefront, and not just doing it, not just putting it in your songs. Like the lyrics are there, but actually making sure that people understand where you're coming from and why you're doing it, especially with the environmental stuff. Um, because obviously every band, every vocalist writes songs that mean something to them, but they don't always have the best delivery or the best conviction in terms of making people say, "Hey, I know you like the riffs, but listen to this. Like, listen to what we're saying here." So it's just something that I've always thought was, yeah, really, really crazy about heavy music and the way that some guys manage to do that really well. And obviously, I'm assuming that that's the same with this album for you, making sure that that lyrical content is digestible.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And in some ways, maybe Orphan isn't digestible for anyone. A few people have been like, I don't know what to do with it. And that's kind of the point as well. So it can also look, yeah, the word you're looking for, like I feel is what's coming to mind for me is intention. Yeah. Having
Mm,
intention behind why it is, you know, why just the why and everything. Because
yeah.
it's something to have the what, but like, and I've been referring to the songs as children. It's like having, you're not going to have unnamed children. You're going to like, you really intentionally, like it's there's a spirit or something coming through there, and you ain't just going to like just blow it on, well, or at least I won't, on just something that is, oh, it doesn't mean anything, and it's bullshit. Like,
Mm,
um doesn't mean it has to mean a whole lot of a lot. It's just got to be intentional as to why you only have four lines. Like there's a reason still behind that. What about suicide's like three or four lines, just repeat and repeat. And the whole thing is just driving it home. Like it's
yeah.
just well, why won't you listen kind of a thing. But
Gets the
yeah,
job done though.
yeah, exactly. No, exactly. And that's the intention behind it. So it is, and it's a responsibility as an artist or in anyone amplifying anyone, whether you're a podcast host, a news host, there's still, I feel, a responsibility, um, because we're storytellers. Like we're at
Mm,
the end of the day, we're all storytellers. And when I say a responsibility, it's like what's coming through and why, and what am I emphasizing and what am I amplifying? And that comes back down to intention, I feel. And it's really important that we sort of take responsibility for the why more and more
yeah.
so in today's age with all that's going on in the world, as you say, like the shit that's going on in the world. It's like, yeah, stepping from that. This just happened to me, so I'm just a victim of it, as opposed to like, I'm claiming it. It's the victory of it is this. This is the intention.
Yeah, for sure. And even like it's also owning things that aren't a victory as well.
Yeah,
And learning from that and being accountable for that and saying,
yeah.
hey, you know what? I fucked up. I didn't get it right, but this is how it made me feel and this is what I learned.
Well, that's the victory. That's it. That is the
Hey,
victory.
that's a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
point.
Like I was a great one of my teachers, and I love to do survival skills, and one of the best like things was like there are no failures, only lessons learned. It's if you fail to learn from the lesson of why the friction fire you were starting didn't light, that it becomes
Mm,
not only a lesson but like a victory. Oh my god, it's because my notch wasn't wide enough, and I should have started that fire an hour before due for. Like, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
you're liberated by that thing, and it becomes a victory. You turn it into a win. So I'm trying
Yeah.
to approach everything like that in life as much as I can. Sometimes the victory, the penny doesn't drop for a while, but anyway.
So that's something you're into, like legit, like survival skills and things.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've been doing it now a good 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
Just a natural progression from hiking and just loving to take photos and animals, and just David Attenborough shows. Let's be honest. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
as a kid, like it's a fascination, and it becomes a natural as you get closer and closer to knowing what something is and how it works and what you
Mm,
can do with it, and the relationship with the animals and the plants. I think that was like, oh, and so like survival isn't just like man versus wild. Like it's not just like tactical, but it's also like a relationship. Yeah, to thrive
yeah.
essentially. Yeah,
Because I know, like, from watching a lot of those sorts of shows like Man vs. Wild and Alone and
yeah,
things like that, one thing that obviously it's fucking Hollywoodized, to keep people
yeah,
watching. But there is one common theme that I do respect and do enjoy hearing them say is that, like, you need to understand where you are and you need to respect where you are and understand your vulnerability, if you are
yeah.
gonna make it out of this sort of thing.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah, it commands respect. Yeah,
Yeah.
shitload of listening.
Do you like
So
that feeling of being out of your comfort zone as well? Do you enjoy that?
yeah, definitely. I think I realized being in a band, it's always uncomfortable as well. Like more than not, there's
Yeah.
always a challenge every day, whether it's the tire that's blown, the merch that didn't show up, the crowd that you might not be able to win over, the flight that's delayed. There's always something, or often it's just like, yeah, not that I'm always sick, but like it's the lack of sleep and how bad you feel. But you've got to
Yeah.
rise above. It's a constant like digging deep, rise above kind of a thing. Like
Mm.
to a degree, it's a challenge. I think I like challenges. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. It's definitely a tool that will help you, or has obviously helped moving forward with the other challenges that arise in the band. Hey, one thing I'm interested in though is obviously, the album still sounds like In Heart's Wake, like to a T. It really does. But there, like I've mentioned a few times, there are some new sonic elements. There is yeah, like I guess a new sort of vibe throughout the album in parts of it. Has there been any sort of, because obviously you guys for the most part are a headlining band, has there been much thought into the concept of how you'll present this album visually in a live sense? Because obviously your music videos are quite intense as well. Has there been much thought into that and how that will sort of work with the older stuff?
There hasn't been because I haven't really stepped into that fully yet. Sort of like right now in release week, we had a conversation around what the set might look like, but we didn't put pen to paper. It was literally just
Mm,
penciling ideas. And so that what happens is like, songs are the kings here, and then we'll build the world around those songs. So if that means certain lighting elements, which can help reflect that, lighting's
mm,
massive. No doubt it is the incarnation tour, and like we are going in that theme. So there's probably going to be just like without speaking to the guys about this part, like we're going to have the album artwork brought to life in some way. We're going to be leaning into those tones and those things. It's a shadow record, and I feel like we're in a bit of a finding this new form in this shadow. So look, it's definitely going to be darker, like you say, and it's going to be just like step by step as well, because we've got to see what works and what doesn't work as we like tour by tour.
yeah, for sure. I feel like you guys are obviously having a little bit of a rebirth, but it must be kind of cool that, you've already kind of done the birth of the band. Well, you guys have been together like what, 17, 18 years now.
Yeah, since high school, I'm thinking when
Like,
we were like 14, 15 in
is
high
the
school.
band is the band drinking age yet? Is it 18 yet?
Are we 18 yet? No.
Yeah.
Let me think. It's probably close.
It'd be close
Yeah, it'd be
for
close.
sure.
Almost. Yeah, and in some ways, like yeah, we put that band name to the thing, but Kyle wasn't in the band, neither was Connor. And in some ways, it feels like the band, like I've played music with the guys for ages, but in some ways, the band In Heart's Wake doesn't feel like it started till we wrote Divination.
Yeah, okay.
And I think because that's our first label, it's our first album, it was like here's Kyle, he's joined the band, here's what he sounds like. It was like that was the we were ready to present something to the world. The rest before
Yeah.
that was just all pilot. They're all pilot episodes, basically.
Isn't it interesting on pilot episodes, going back and watching some TV shows and watching their pilot episode
Like
and just,
Seinfeld, something.
yeah, yeah. Seinfeld's one of those shows though. It's cheesy and it's predictable, but it's also so unhinged at moments. And I really enjoyed sort of getting to know that. I know we're moving away from music for a moment, but I really enjoyed getting to know Seinfeld so well, and then watching Curb Your Enthusiasm and just seeing exactly how Larry David had split his personality into those various characters in Seinfeld.
Is
Just
yeah, it's
genius.
very New York, and it's very like neurotic. Like it's just like it picks up on all the uncomfortabilities and awkward things and things that you just shouldn't really talk about or wouldn't
Yeah.
do. Like yeah, it just brings those. relatable to so many people things to life, doesn't it? Does it so well.
Yeah. How do you go with those moments yourself? Those moments where you really want to say something to someone, but you know you shouldn't. You know, like when someone cuts in front of you in a line or something, and
I usually say stuff all the time. And like
yeah,
I'd say I'm more of a confronter than a, not in a rude way, but like yeah, like I think I feel like I'd be that person more than
yeah.
actually the line cutter. If I'd cut the line, I'd have a damn good excuse. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even still, I'd feel really bad about it.
Oh yeah, I couldn't do that sort of thing. It's just even, I don't know where people they have the, I guess the confidence to just go up to their friends who are waiting in a massively packed line. And you got people with kids and old people waiting there for hours, and then they just go, "Oh, we're with our friends." It's like, you fuckers.
Yeah, well, time is money, I suppose. And you're kids, you got to just mouths to feed. You got
Oh,
you got to jump in that
mate,
line.
yeah, no, it's patience is money when you got kids, man, because trust me, after just doing Japan for 2 weeks and standing in some of the lines at Disneyland and things like that, oh man, it's hard to keep a kid entertained fucking for an hour and a half waiting to go on the Indiana Jones ride. And they don't
Oh,
even watch Indiana Jones. It was for me. But I'm like, you'll love the ride. I promised.
here's an iPad. No, that's what I
Oh,
said.
that's what they're doing downstairs right now. They get their little bit of device time while dad's doing his thing. So,
Yeah, device
uh,
time. Oh wow. Yeah, device. Yeah.
device time. Fucking don't we all need a
Oh,
little bit of
devices. Yeah. Vice time. Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
man. 100%. I had a chat with Chris from Barry Tomorrow last week, and he went cold turkey from all the social media, and I was like, "Hey, how you going with that?" And he's just like, "I'm the happiest I've ever been. This is great." I'm just like, "All right," because he was saying that to not have that sort of necessity to know what everyone in your life is doing all the time, it's brought back a little bit of the mystery for him. Oh, I wonder how they're doing. I wonder what they're up to. So when you actually have a conversation with someone after a while and you catch up, you're actually catching up. You're not just like, oh yeah, I saw that on Instagram, or oh yeah, I saw you post about that on Facebook. Do you have any sort of do you have to ever limit yourself on social media and things like that? Obviously, it's hard being in this world where you got to promote your band, you got to let people know what you're doing because there's so many people doing it, and you've got a product you're proud of. Does it cause you much frustration, I guess?
Yeah, like a little bit. Yeah, for sure. Like there's definitely a bit of reluctance, I think, but I've had to come back to the why. It's like, yeah, the why. Like I'm doing it because I believe in the art and I feel it's important to share the art. And there's something in here that like I feels needs to be heard or said or listened to, and I believe in it. So therefore, like that's the why around it. As soon as
Mm,
you slip away from that, I think that's where the kind of got to intervene. And
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, what am I doing? Like, yeah, it's just like they call doom scrolling or
the
whatever.
doom
Like that's
scrolling.
that can
Mm,
start to, yeah, bad habits can start to be formed, and that's where you got to like you nip it in the bud. But when I do these courses and teach skills and stuff, like there's no phones. You don't get
mm,
service at those places. So like luckily I get these, it's by forced, we call it, detox by force, no digital stuff. So you go a
yeah,
week, 10 days, and there's none of that shit around at all. And it's liberating, but there's like the why. I know why. Like it's
for a reason.
for a reason and
Yeah.
like it's a forced, but it's a forced thing. And it's a choice, but it's a forced. No one's got their phones out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange. Like my partner and I went away a few weeks ago, and the place we stayed at was just out in Rylestone, out sort of past Mudgee sort of thing, middle of
Yeah.
nowhere on a farm, no service, and it was just like this is great. Like this is so great. We got a fire, we got a pool table, and we got wine. Like what more do you need, really? Like detox by force, but yeah, it is liberating.
It is
So.
liberating. Yeah.
Hey, how
Yeah.
long until the next shows kick off?
September 5th.
I knew
So
it was
less
getting
than two
close.
months. Yeah, it's getting close. It goes from you go from June 30th to September real quick. You think like, oh, and it hits July, and you're like, wait, it's less than 2 months away. It's like, holy
Oh,
shit.
dude, we went from fucking Christmas to what are we at now? Like the 15th of July, real quick as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just disappeared. So until then, though, it's obviously release time, and no doubt you'll be doing a bunch of stuff, press and things like that for release. What about outside of that? Is it chill time? Is it rehearsal? Is it
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, yeah, it's definitely getting into the tour mindset. What's the set list? Starting to think what songs am I gonna like near knuckle down on? What does it look like? What like cool bits of merch do we want to bring like that speak to the songs? Like it really, we love doing the merch stuff as an opportunity, like to do cool stuff. Um,
yeah,
get creative there. So that's on the in hard to wait side of things. But outside of that, man, like I live on a lot of land and I get out on it whenever I can and, work on it. It's a lot of work, but like also just like whether I'm pulling rocks or moving weeds or planting trees or like just want to camp out on it and be on it as much as I can while
fuck
I'm
yeah,
here. Yeah. So that's sort of my plan. Once release week's over, I will be doing my like daily duties as part of the band, but that's ideally sleep out in a tent. I'm trying to get a secondhand, like just a secondhand tent, one that I can let it go moldy or whatever. I just leave it out
yeah.
there. Not fucking, yeah. And so I'm looking for right now, and I'm just gonna camp, park it out there. I'm gonna camp in it. That's the plan.
Yeah, that sounds great, man. Well, obviously, once the tour cycle starts kicking into gear big time, you're not going to get to do that very much. So enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, and looking forward to seeing you guys play this new stuff live. Is there anything that you're specifically looking forward to more than anything else on this cycle? Any song that you're really just chomping at the bit to play live?
The flood. Yeah, the flood. Just got this
Nice.
upbeat, fun, hardcore. Feels like it's a back to roots whilst going to the into the future of
Yeah.
sonic sounds. Or that's gonna scratch an itch. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. Well, dude, thanks for hanging out. And no doubt we'll catch you on tour. Go and get do your band duties and get some chill time.
I'll try. Thanks, dude.
Thanks, man. Pleasure as always.
Good luck with the kids. School holidays.
Hey, they're real quiet, so we're winning.
Yeah, yeah, by time. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I already told them after this, nah, we're going on a hike or we're going to the beach or something. So
cool, good.
I've laid down the law. Dad
You
took
do it
days
for
off
you,
work. Yeah,
personally, you and her. Yeah, yeah,
that's it. That's it. No, the thing is though, man, like once you break through that thing and they put it down, they move away, they remember how much they just love being outdoors and love because they play a lot of sports, they play a lot of soccer. Um, but it's just, yeah, that they wake up in the morning, it's there, and they can just play games or talk to their mates. But once you crack through that and get them out, they're just like, well, we don't want to go home. We want to stay out till dark.
yeah.
So,
Good.
like, and it is good. It's a good reminder for them. So,
Keep it.
and
Yeah,
then
keep that flame. They'll better go back to it later in life because they're going to have the distraction phase where, the phone is the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the whatever. And
it's
then
high
once
school
they,
next year, brother. High school next year for my son. So,
yeah, but once they got that flame that's lit now, they'll come back to that when they need to and be like, oh,
yeah.
I just love camping. Like I was be frothing on it. Just
Yeah, for sure. For sure, man.
that.
Like, look,
No.
it's great. It's great. It's good to enjoy that stuff with them. Like we were in Japan and we were doing this hike up past Trito Pagoda, which is a temple up in the mountains where you can see Fuji and all that sort of stuff. And it was freezing cold. It was foggy as all fuck. We're walking up this trail because my son didn't want to go on the walk. And then we went on the walk and he just wanted to keep going up this mountain. And I'm just like, nah, dude, we're stopping. We're going back. You got like a 7-year-old sister. It's freezing cold. There's signs saying look out ahead for bears and wild boars. Like I'm not fighting a fucking wild pig, dude. We're going home. And then I found out he went and complained to his mum and wants his mum to take him back to Japan because I didn't let him walk up this giant mountain. You can't fucking win.
It's so good.
All right, dude. I'll let you go. Thanks for your time. The album is a fucking slammer. I don't know if I've said that already, but it really is my favorite thing that you guys have done, and you've absolutely smashed it. And I honestly think that it's going to kick ass. So
Thanks, man. There's a few breakdowns in it as per the title of your thing. So
there
yeah,
is a few
definitely
breakdowns.
It's no shortage of breakdowns. Yeah, the most breakdown heavy record we've ever made for sure.
Yeah, it probably is actually. Yeah, it's fucking
Yeah.
wild. Anyway, thanks as always,
Thanks,
dude.
man.